There are many different ways of looking at the inner critic. So, the inner critic being that voice in your head that shows up sometimes that makes you want to contract, stay safe, not take risks, and be small. And it can really, for some people, verge on being a nasty voice, a loud voice, an accusatory voice that really hits on our nerves, our vulnerabilities, to ensure that we don't move forward, to ensure that we contract and slink back. So, every human being on this planet has an inner critic. You might not think so. Some people might just seem kind of happy go lucky and they're fine. But everyone has it to a different degree, or everyone has it, but they can hear it on a different volume. So some people, they've got it, but it's so hidden in their subconscious, they don't actually hear those accusations or feel those criticisms in a strong way, but they're hiding in the subconscious. They're kind of hiding in the hidden world. So it still affects them because they live a safe life. They play small. They stay in their same circles. They stay in the same job forever. They stay doing the same routine, for most of their life. So it's there and it's hiding and it's just kind of keeping them in a fence that they don't realize that they're in. And it will probably, the volume on it would probably turn up if they started to like really start expanding in a new way. Others of us, we sometimes hear the inner critic. So we can go long periods of time without hearing those inner accusations, but it can really get turned up if we have a big change in our life, we're trying out something new, or we're really unsure of our future for some reason. There's like an instability. Others of us often hear the inner critic. And I would say that if you are a highly sensitive person or you consider yourself empathic, because you can sense things so well and so crisply and so clearly, it's a gift. You can also sense and hear the voice of the inner critic very clearly and very well. So it's kind of like a double edged sword to be highly sensitive, as you already know. So putting it in perspective is really important. So a few things about it is it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to believe it and follow it. And so hearing it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. If anything, it means that your senses are peaked and that you probably are invested in making changes in your life, whether it's just inner things, the way that you react and interact with other people, or big things in the outside world, moving and shaking up the outer aspects of your life, like your job or where you live or something that you're creating or collaborating with others with. So when you hear it and it kicks in and it can really kind of like make you feel small, make you want to put a full stop on everything you're doing, and on the severe end kind of like accuse you of all kinds of insecurities that you already have and kind of make them loud. One thing that's really important to learn how to do is to take a pause and think of it like a wave that's bringing in all this chatter, all of these criticisms, all these amplifications of your existing insecurities. Who are you to try this out? You're not qualified. You're not experienced enough. Nobody's going to like what you have to offer. Who are you to think that those people want to be friends with you or want to collaborate with you? You're not a good fit for this thing that you're dreaming about. Like all these kind of voices. When those start up, if you can take a pause and just like sit down, turn off your phone, turn off the noise of your life, and let it come in like a wave and observe it. You're the experiencer, you're the observer, and it is just like a loop, it's a program. And it's actually something that is trying to ensure your survival. So many, many years ago, when we were living and we were trying to survive as a species or in tribes, we would get these kind of like, hey, stop, stay small, don't go out after dark. There could be a wild animal. Or, hey, stop, don't trust those people from the neighboring tribe until they've proved themselves. Take, just stop, contract, wait. And this was to make sure that we could survive. Now that we can survive and we don't have the exact same threats, we still have this loop available inside, a mechanism that's trying to keep us safe. And so it can start off like a little bit of fear, a little bit of apprehension before making some kind of a move or a change. Or it can be really loud and kind of like accusing us of things that are going to make us to feel small. And then if we feel small, we will contract and pause and not move forward. So it's, in its purest sense, it's there to try and help us survive. But now that we've passed the survival of the species, part of evolution, it's just still there and it's looking for a job to do. And so if you take a risk and you fail, for the most part, your body is going to survive. But we still have this thing going on. So a great practice is just to take a pause, let it come through like a wave. Listen to it, watch it. Okay, what do you got to say? And so you'll hear all these criticisms, feel all these insecurities come up like a wave is just kind of cresting. And if you just listen and watch and listen and watch, don't take anything personally, don't take anything on, just be curious. That wave is going to crescent, or whatever you call it, crescendo. It's going to like come down. And then that voice is going to get a bit quieter. The energy is going to kind of relax a bit. And what I even like to do is say, okay, you got anything else? Because I'm your full audience. Do you have anything else to say during this time? You've got the microphone to say whatever you want. And bringing that awareness and letting it pass and watching and listening to all the crazy stuff it might have to say is going to be enough to let it, in that moment, pass through. And then you can kind of pick up and keep going with your day. It's looking for an audience. It's looking for awareness. So if we try and like resist and cut off and kill the inner critic, that's not the answer, because it's part of our system right now at this point in time. So we might as well let it pass through. Don't let it control us. Don't take it personally, and be the observer of it and know that 99% of the time it's not true anyways. So we can just watch and let it pass. And that really, in its truest form, it's trying to keep us in survival. A few years ago, I was at a plant medicine ceremony in Costa Rica at Rhythmia. And before the first ceremony, one of the workshops that they did was teaching us about purging. And that when you take ayahuasca and many other strong plant medicines, there's a purging effect where old energy, negative thoughts about yourself, old memories that have been painful, they kind of come to the surface from the subconscious. And then they teach you any remaining lessons or bring you any messages that you have kind of shoved away. And then they move out. And we can get a physical purging when that happens. We can be vomiting or crying or sweating or any of these things. And one interesting thing that they taught was that we can have a purging of mental chatter. So if there was like inner critic ideas that had been hiding in the subconscious, totally unseen, totally hidden, and they come up as a result of being in the ceremony, we can allow that loop of what they have to say to show up. We can be the audience. And then we can just let it go on and on and on and treat it like vomiting. Treat it like we're peeing it out. And that energy that was stuck and kind of dense from the subconscious can come up, be seen, and move through, be released. And that's that. So doing this practice is not so different than, what they were teaching us to do in the plant medicine ceremony. And that's exactly what did happen to me. So I was really grateful that they taught about that in the workshop before it started. I remember sitting there in this ceremony and getting all kinds of thoughts that were paranoid. I was thinking, oh, no one here likes me. I'm in the way. I have problems worse than most people here. I'm never gonna connect properly with anyone or meet any new friends while I'm here this week. Um, just all these like really, really horrible thoughts that probably had no basis in reality, but they must have been hiding. They must have been hiding and probably had been there for years about other people and other places too. And so thank goodness they had mentioned it in the workshop. So I was like ready and I was like, okay, interesting. And I let it loop and I let it go around. I let it go around. And it was really intense. It was really uncomfortable. And then it kind of passed through. It's like, okay, we can do this. So if you are dealing with inner critic and it's like you're in the often here, I often hear my inner critic coming up and going around, then you're probably doing something right. You're probably taking risks and making changes in your life. You probably have parts of you that are highly sensitive and can hear and feel and see things really, really acutely. So it's just about having the tools to observe it and not take it too seriously, not believing what it has to say, and letting it move on out. If you like this video, please click like, comment if you have any ideas of other topics that you'd love to hear about, and I'd be happy to make some videos.